Yeah. One time for your mind like, yeah. One time for your mind like this, yo. Check it. Ntwana ga tswana ke monate with a flipper ka sekgowa o setswana. I'm the super lyrical individual, master of metaphysical. Be flipping this is perpetual. I catch wreck like mad loops filled with invalid references, but with error handling that results in friendly end user messages. Goddamn right, I'm an evangelist. Got so many verses I could compile an entire testament. You better believe that. I predictively shake things up like that haptic feedback. I took a second to pencil this. Rappers get served like games at Wimbledon. Hey yo, check out this workflow triggered by Jane Doe. Actionable message allows Richard Rowe to press the right buttons like a Smash Bros combo. I manifest math skills and finesse while y'all stay limited like you're running 5 actions or less. That's word to the VTEs for their dedication. Hey guys, compliments of the season. Would like to wish you all a happy new year. I've been waiting for a while to do this blog because I wanted to start the year on a good note, on an exciting note, and also remind you guys that as much as we've elevated in Nintex, there's still quite a lot of knowledge that I'd like to share with you guys on our previous platforms. So in front of me, you'll see that I'm back on my timesheet site. There's a couple of things that have changed. In here, I've actually built a responsive form. I'll go into more detail on that blog after this post. And then also you'll notice that here under my timesheets, if I go into that list over there, what you'll notice is that over here, I've got an extra column in my list that says workflow history. So as you guys would have guessed that if I click on this hyperlink or this link over here, it should actually, in fact, allow me to view my workflow history. So if I go into this tab in here, you'll notice that I've got a workflow history in there where I've actually got the name of the person, a date timestamp next to that name, as well as some notes around my workflow history. So in this blog post, I'll show you guys how to achieve that. This is some really cool stuff. This is something that I've had on my mind. I just didn't have time to execute it. But for me, basically, it should be a way that could allow you guys to build your own intuitive workflow history on any list items without having to depend on the Nintex workflow history list. Because as you guys can imagine, or even know, you don't really have to imagine that the Nintex workflow history list does inherit the same list view thresholds as a normal list. So I hope you enjoyed this blog. Please feel free to drop any questions on anything that you might see or anything that I haven't explained clearly, or any funnies that you might run into when you actually give my solution a try. And with that, again, I'd like to say Happy New Year. Okay, so this is awesome. I'd like to run you guys as to how I was able to achieve this. So first things first, if you go into our site settings over here, you'll see that for this particular site, so remember this is our timesheet site, right? We've got a section for site columns. But then what I'm going to do quickly is that I'm just going to filter that by custom columns. So remember, this is standard SharePoint stuff. And then if I scroll a little bit down, you'll see that I've got a workflow history column. And you guys will notice that it is multiple lines of text. So that's the data type that I've chosen for this column. This gives me a lot of flexibility, and you guys will see why in a second. So if I open this column, you'll notice that it's called workflow history list. So yes, it is a multiple lines of text column, but the one major difference is that I've actually specified that this should allow enhanced rich text. Rich text being things like pictures, tables, as well as hyperlinks. So if you guys remember in my first video, my hyperlink had the first name and last name of that person as per the user profile service. And if you obviously click on that, will open their profile. And then the second most important thing that allows me to log the history list or to log the history for that specific item easily, what I've done over here is that I've told this column to append changes to existing text. This is a very nice trick that I've used in the past. So basically what this allows you to do is that whenever that column gets updated, right, any updates to that column or any previous updates to that column will be retained, and any new updates will be appended. So it's similar to how you'd use a build string to, for example, maybe build an HTML table, or maybe build or to collect all approver comments, where you have the previous comments at the top and then new stuff is added at the bottom. It works the same way, but it looks in reverse, but I'll run you guys through that. So once I set this up, what I literally did is that, obviously, again, going back into my site settings quickly, but this time going into my site content types, what I actually did is, for my timesheet content type, which is listed over here, I'm not going to filter. If I click on that, you'll notice that I've also added that workflow history column to that. So this is how I've managed to associate my workflow history column to the timesheet content type. And then now that I've got my workflow history column linked to my timesheet content type, what I ended up doing on the actual list itself, is I customized the Nintex form. So if we go into our list tab over here, and we go ahead and we customize our timesheet form. So remember, this is all in Classic, and I will explain the responsive one as well, is how you can achieve this. But in any case, you'll notice that on there, I've got my tabs over here, and then I've got a couple of panels linking each tab to each section on my form as well. So I've got one for the actual timesheet, and I've also got one for the attachment, and lastly, I've got one over here for the workflow history. And then in there, obviously, what I've done is I've added my multiple lines of text column, and because I've specified that this must append existing changes to this column, what you immediately you'll see over here is a little simulation which shows you what user A's first name and last name would look like, as well as the date and timestamp, as well as the content in there. So that's how I've gotten the form to work. And then just to explain how I got this to update via the workflow in the way that I needed to update, what I'm going to do for you guys is quickly go into manage my Nintex workflows. This is going to open my workflow inventory. And then if I go ahead and I click on the name of the workflow, I get a nice little sneak preview as to which workflow it is that I'm editing. But before I go into design view, what you guys will notice is that what I've done in here is that with any step where there's an approval or a rejection that happens, I actually update that item so that I can append my changes to my workflow history list column. So it's a really simple step. It's actually another step. So if you guys are on subscription, it's just one more step. But think about the value that it brings into your process, how you can actually append all of those changes into the workflow in one single column using some of the out-of-the-box features on SharePoint. But in any case, if I open any of these, remember I use a state machine. I don't have to describe this to you. You can watch my previous posts. But whenever this goes for approval, I actually update my workflow history list column over here. And then in there, what I do is that I built a little description for myself to say, well, this is sent to this particular manager, which is a variable or a common variable that I can reuse via Nintex workflow. And then I've added the next keywords to say for manager approval. And then I've used some of my other common variables like the current date and current time. And then should this manager reject this, I do the same thing. So I actually update that same field called my workflow history in there. And then what I do is that I actually use the common variable to grab all of the previous approvers comments. And then I also add a little bit of detail to say, well, this was sent back to the initiator, and I put in the display name as well, right? So that's when it's rejected, because I know the manager's not happy with this. They need to go ahead and send that back to the initiator. But if they go ahead and approve this, and they're happy with this, all I do is that I just add the approver comments in there. And that's how I got it to work in a nutshell. Like I promised, please read my blog. You'll find all the detail as to how to get this working. I just wanted to give you guys a rough overview. Thank you.